Hello humans, I'm the Alien Doctor, but you could call me Alien, and welcome back to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today we are going to be taking a look at a zombie and skeleton spawner farm. So this of course utilizes the spawners that you get in dungeons. Now as I mentioned in the intro, this will only work for skeleton or zombie spawners. This will not work for any of the other spawners in the game. It might work for silverfish spawners, but realistically I don't know why you'd be farming them. Also it would just be a pain because of all the stone that you'd have to remove and that sort of thing. So you could probably build this with silverfish spawners as well. But anyway, this is best designed for skeleton and zombie farms. Now, one of the perks of this spawner farm is that it is designed with absolutely no materials from the nether, meaning you can build this on day one. As you can see, the clock over here does not use any comparators. It does not use any observers, which both require quartz, which means you could build this without even visiting the nether. And of course, it still uses a very, very simple Trident killer, so we can have that looting 3 effect. And if you wanted to, you could also put Impaling 4 on the Trident, like I have done here, which will one-hit kill any mobs that fall down, as about to be demonstrated, unless they're wearing armor. There we go. So you saw there that guy was one-hit kill. Now, as always, there will be timestamps in the description and on the playhead bar. So if you're wanting to skip straight to the tutorial and you don't care about how it works, then you can do that. But for those of you that are interested, let's talk about how this spawner farm works. So firstly, credit given where credit is due. I got a lot of these mechanics from Groover Guy's video. He's a great Minecraft Bedrock Edition content creator, and I'll leave a link to his video in the description down below if you're interested in the mechanics, because I won't be going into all of them. So like most spawner farms, this starts off with the spawner hanging in the middle. Now we can see here there are actually 4 blocks in each direction of the spawner. This is because this is the range of which blocks need to be removed for the spawner to have the maximum efficiency. On Bedrock, it's a sort of sphere, circular shape like this, with 4 blocks in each direction. We then have a glass block on top of the spawner, which is actually to push mobs down if they spawn on top of this spawner. So if I were to spawn in a skeleton on top of this block, you can see that the glass will actually just instantly push it off to the side. Now this makes it a little bit more efficient than using a slab, because normally you just put the slab on top and it would block the spawns, whereas this allows the mobs to spawn on top of the spawner and then get pushed off. So it just opens up another spawning spot. So I forgot to mention when I was originally recording this, but the idea of putting the glass above the spawner was from a short that Silent Whisperer made. So I'll leave a link to that in the description, but full credit to him for the idea of using the glass there. Then all the mobs will fall down into here, where they'll then travel through the water streams over here into this currently overflowing Trident killer. Now, you, the player, will be standing here, where you'll be able to collect the XP through the glass that you can optionally choose to put here. If you have one, you can also hold a looting 3 sword to have the looting 3 effect applied. Now, this is a simple trapdoor Trident killer. I've used them in plenty of my designs in the past. Essentially, the mob gets into the minecart, where the trapdoor will then kill them. So over here for the redstone clock that's actually powering the trapdoor Trident killer, we have a rather strange clock that, well, you probably haven't seen that often before. So this is a reasonably simple redstone clock that will provide a fast enough speed to actually power this trapdoor Trident killer without using resources from the nether. So I've already mentioned it, but a big part of me designing this was because I didn't want it to use observers or comparators, which need quartz, which you need to go to the nether. I want you to be able to build this farm on day one, which thanks to this clock not using any of those resources, you can. Now, something else to mention is the mobs are being dropped 10 blocks down. This is actually a couple more blocks more than you need. If we head over to this diagram I have over here, which is from Groover Guy's video, again linked in the description, this is actually the detection range for spawners on Bedrock Edition. So if there is a mob anywhere inside this range, then the spawner will not spawn anymore, assuming that that mob was originally spawned from the spawner as well, because the game will differentiate between the two. So as you can see here, the detection range is actually only 4 blocks beneath the spawner, which means you'd need another 2 for the actual, mob, because it's 2 blocks tall, and maybe another 1 just there so that when it bobs up and down in the water, it doesn't accidentally go back into that range. Yeah, so that's 7 blocks, so you may be wondering why I've actually gone 10 blocks down. Well, that's mainly just as a safety precaution. So it's to make sure that we do not have whatsoever any mobs somehow getting back into that radius. It's also to make sure that the light levels coming through the trapdoors do not interfere with the monster cage, because of course it needs to be in darkness to spawn. So with that in mind, it's an incredibly simple farm. I'll leave a world download in the description if you want to take a look further at how it works or anything like that. But I think without further ado, let's get into the materials list. So the materials that you're going to need for this farm will be in the description. I'll obviously show you now, but it is probably a good idea just to have a quick check in the description and pinned comment in case I forget something in this materials list, because of course I can update the description or pinned comment. Anyway, for this build, you will need 4 oak trapdoors, 4 pieces of redstone dust, 2 buckets of water so you can make an infinite water source or some ice or something, 2 chests, a minecart, a piece of glass, a redstone torch, a redstone block, a sticky piston, a lever, a hopper, a temporary rail, a temporary torch, and a target block. You may also want some optional tinted glass as well if you want to be able to see into your farm. And without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is disable your spawner, and you can do this by putting a torch on top of it. This will provide enough light to stop mobs from spawning. You'll probably also need to kill some of the mobs in the general area as well. And once you've done that, you can actually go ahead and put a piece of glass on top of that torch, because of course this will push off the mobs if they spawn on top of the spawner once we finish the farm. Now we're going to need to get out to mining the actual spawning room itself. So firstly, you're going to want to go in 4 blocks in every direction from the spawner. So this is sort of like a hybrid dungeon room. Normally dungeons have either 3 blocks and then the wall, or 2 blocks and then the wall from the spawner. So I've sort of built a room that has both of those for you. So if it's 2 blocks, then you're going to want to add on 2 blocks more, because it needs to be 4 blocks to the wall. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Or in this case, it's 3, so we just need to destroy 1. Basically, however your dungeon has spawned, you want to have 4 blocks in each direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. Now, as I mentioned in the earlier part of this video, it's sort of a circular shape. So coming over here to one of your walls that you've just mined out 4 blocks away from the spawner, you're going to want to have a block here like this one already has, and then place a block here, and you may need to remove a block. Basically, you want to have this diagonal sort of connecting the walls together like this. So we'll just do the same for this side as well. As I say, depending on how your dungeon has generated, you may need to remove or you may need to place in some blocks. So there we go. And as you can see here, we now have this room in a perfect circle shape. And of course, make sure that these are 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks away from the spawner. So now it's time to actually dig downwards on the spawner. So on the same level as your spawner, like I am now, you'll want to dig down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks down, and then you should be standing on the 10th block like I am right now. And as I say, there should be 9 blocks below the spawner, with the 10th you being stood on. And as you can see, like I've already done, you'll want to basically mine this area out like you've already done at the top here to have this sort of circular shape like so. And it could be a good idea when you're at the bottom just to make sure that it's 4 blocks in each direction from the center to get to one of your walls as well, just to make sure you definitely haven't messed anything up. But now your spawning room should look something a little bit like this. And I'm going to remove this pillar in the middle now because we don't need it. So now you're going to want to choose which side you actually want the kill chamber to be. Now this will be the side that you actually use the farm on. So if there's a preferred side to line up with another build or something, then you're going to need to choose that one. So in this specific example, I'm going to be building the kill chamber at this side. So you want to go to the opposite side, you want to build the kill chamber, which for me is in this direction, and mine some blocks. So you're actually going to want to remove all of these blocks underneath here so that it creates a sort of square underneath here. And you're going to want to do the same for the other side as well, like that, but only at the back here. So this is the side where we are going to have the kill chamber, and then this is sort of the back. Now you're going to need to pull out your water and probably create a temporary water source somewhere. But if you put basically water all along this side underneath there that you've just mined out, then it should flow like just forwards in this direction. Now we're going to need the water that pushes it towards the center. So you're going to want to place any sort of temporary block, remove this block, and then a water on top. Remove that block. There we go. And do the same on the other side. So temporary block, remove this one, water, remove the temporary block. So now your water should basically push any mobs, including yourself, right into the center to this block where we'll have the kill chamber. So what I would recommend doing now is breaking either this side or this side. It doesn't really matter. I'm probably just breaking yourself a small area back here so that you have some space to work, put down a crafting table and maybe some chests and whatever else you want. Obviously, you don't need to make it this big. It's just nice to have a little bit of space. You're also going to want to remove these 2 blocks here that are right at the solid edge because you're going to need to be placing in your Trident killer here. So first of all, in line with this wall in the area that you have over here, you're going to want to break this block and place down a hopper pointing into here. And then you can place in your chests like so. And obviously you can have more storage if you so choose to. I would also recommend just placing a block here and breaking this one and then using that to jump in and out just so you don't have the water flooding in. So after you've done that, you're basically going to want to put a trapdoor on top of that hopper and flick it up. And then followed by that, basically put a block, a temporary block on that wall, followed by a trapdoor on that block, and then another trapdoor coming off of that. Flick this trapdoor up like so. I'd also recommend putting a block here and a block here, or you can use some optional tinted glass and then you'll be able to see it. This will be the point where you AFK, so if you want to add some optional tinted glass, say here as well, so that you can see in, then that is something that you can do. Now coming back into the area where you have your water, you're basically going to want to place down a rail and then a minecart really quickly before the water destroys the rail, like that. There we go. Of course, if you need to, you could like temporarily remove some of the water like that, just to help you place it in and then let it flood again. But basically the water should just push the minecart into that area like so. Now back here, you're then going to want to place another trapdoor coming off of this trapdoor and flick that one up as well. So now you should have something looking a little bit like this. So you're going to want to break an area just over in this wall to the left of your actual Trident killer, or where your Trident killer will be, just so that you could easily work and see where you're placing blocks and stuff. So you'll want to place a block here. There should already be a block next to the base of your Trident killer. And then on top of that, place a piece of redstone dust here, followed by another block with a block of redstone on top, block here, redstone dust, block coming off the side of that redstone dust with a block on top, and then a target block, which should make the redstone dust point into the target block. Now you're going to want to grab your sticky piston, and you may need some temporary blocks in order to do this, but you will want to basically place a sticky piston right here. You may need to just temporarily remove that so that you can get out again. There we go. And finally, you will want to get yourself your redstone torch and place it on this target block. Now, if you place a block here with a piece of redstone dust and a block coming off of that, you can then put your lever on that block like so. And this will actually be your on and off switch for the farm. So if we flick this on, nothing happens, which is totally intentional. But if you flick it off again, you can see here that the redstone clock works and that trapdoor will flip up and down, hopefully at a speed that looks something a little bit like this. So you can now fill in this wall if you want to, which is what I personally am going to do. And there we go. We now have all the redstone completely hidden away. Of course, it may be a good idea to make sure that you have this place lit up, though, so that you don't have any mobs spawning in the back of here. So now that you have your redstone in, that's pretty much it. The last thing that you will want to do is flick this trapdoor down and throw in the trident on this top trapdoor, obviously without picking it up. You can then flick this back up again and stand here to AFK. Obviously, you'll want to actually turn the farm on. Of course, you will need to head up here and actually remove the torch so that mobs will spawn. As well as this, optionally, you could put a redstone lamp in this glass block or above it, and that could be an on and off switch for the spawner as well, which I would recommend doing. But as you can see, if I just remove that torch and then fly down here and make sure this bit's all covered up, then we can see there that skeletons start going into the farm absolutely perfectly. Now, annoyingly, you do have to make sure there are no skeletons in here before you throw the trident. But if we throw the trident on top of that one, there we go. I think that's good. Okay, maybe jump up and throw. There we go. That's perfect. flick this, and there we go. The trident will flick into place. We should see some skeletons drop down, and those skeletons will die. We'll get the XP, and their drops are, of course, going into this chest as well. Although the command block I have set up will kill them. But for you, they'll all go into this chest. Now, optionally, if you wanted to use an Impaling 5 Trident to basically speed up how quick it is for killing the mobs, which, by the way, is totally not necessary. The spawner only spawns mobs about every 10 to 18 seconds, so there's not really much point in using an Impaling 5 Trident. But if you want to, you could just simply place some water right here. These trapdoors should make sure that that water doesn't flood anywhere, and then you can just throw in your Impaling 5 Trident, assuming there are no skeletons in there. There we go. And as you can see, there we go. It will literally kill the skeletons instantly. But as I mentioned, it's totally not necessary to use an Impaling 5 Trident if you don't want to. Occasionally, you might have the skeletons sort of bunch up here as they're sort of pushing each other to get down this 1 block gap. But eventually they will go. It just sometimes takes a little bit of time. The spawner really isn't efficient enough for this to cause any sort of major blockage. And once you're finished, you can just turn off the Trident Killer with the lever, turn on the redstone lamp if you want to add one, and pick up the Trident from here. I would recommend picking up the Trident when you're not using the farm, because sometimes it can fall through the trapdoor and destroy the minecart, which is very annoying. It's just a weird Minecraft bug when you unload this stuff, I guess. But that's going to be it for today's Minecraft Bedrock Edition tutorial. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, I guess, then feel free to join my Discord and post them in there. Or if you're just having issues with getting this thing to work, we also have a technical support channel where you can ask for help and that sort of thing. But other than that, a huge massive thank you for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe today to join the Alien Empire for more Minecraft Bedrock Edition content like this. Thank you to all the patrons and Twitch subs and Discord boosters. I will see you in the next video coming very, very soon. Bye.